hold on, because we're an adult. Not sponsored, don't look. Very angsty, very like, where's my black eyeliner? I don't have any. I have no anger issues whatsoever. Hey guys, and welcome back to The Hideaway. It's still me, Douglas, and today we'll be breaking down the fourth entry into The Hideaway called Black Cadillac Nightmare Fuel. And this one's gonna be a little bit different because it is, so this is some song lyrics that I wrote last year. And I thought it was important for me to include some of my song lyrics because I've been writing song lyrics for about 6 years now, and that's really been a big part of my writing. Granted, I'm not a musician, I don't play music, these types of things, but I've always been interested in doing that. And so before I was writing more poems like you saw with like Hideaway and Two Waves, I was writing these types of songs. So it's definitely something I wanted to include. Maybe not the best piece to include, but it's one that I'd already thought of and like, you know, wanted to share because it was one of the ones that first came to mind that was more reminiscent of like poetic lyrics versus just like straightforward song lyrics, etc. So we're gonna go ahead and start breaking it down. I'm not gonna break down each like section because if you listen to it, as my mother pointed out, a lot of it is repetitive because obviously like it was broken down into like a verse, a pre-chorus, chorus, and then a bridge and like those types of things. So there's a lot of it is repeated. So there's no need to go over it multiple times. But let's break it down just a little bit. So again, same thing with my songs as with my poems. The title usually comes first. This one was very interesting because I, one, don't know where the title came from. It's very, like I put in my post, it's very reminiscent of like early like 2000s like pop punk. Before Taylor Swift, Fall Out Boy was a very big influence for me writing wise. And so what I really liked was that like song titles weren't necessarily relevant to like what the piece was, but like it was very like quippy, or it was very like just eye-catching, and then you'd have something a little bit different and not something you'd expect in the lyrics. So Black Cadillac Nightmare Fuel for me, very like supernatural, like you have like the black car riding off into like battle and things like that. It was very much the imagery of like this darkness. We love continuing themes. And the song really touches on like kind of like grudges and like that angst, backstabbing friends, like that type of like angsty stuff that like maybe teens go through. And granted, I wrote this last year, but the vibe is kind of there. So we're gonna start with verse 1. So the evening sky is black tonight, the stars vanished through nothing. So we're very much setting the scene of like, again, I was imagining like riding off into war, but like instead of like on horses, it was in this Cadillac. Stars vanished to nothing, so like the sky is completely black, like there's nothing, like the stars like have disappeared because they're like, it's on, like we don't want to be a part of this. Cold and alone against nature. So again, it's nothing, it's just the backdrop of nature, this black sky, that's all it is. And then you look into my eyes and you see fire burning rampant. So it's, we're in a stare off, alone against nature, and you just see the fiery depths of hell burning. And that imagery also, I realize now, is like Ghost Rider from like Marvel Comics, and his whole thing was vengeance. And so like, it's again, very tied together. The raven caws at dusk. So I really love like gothic imagery too, and like Edgar Allan Poe, those types of things. So that was like the signaling cry of like this battle that's about to take place. I like to throw in like petty digs in my writing, I've noticed. So Lush is the life that beckons the weak. So I'm basically saying that this person that I'm going against is very like privileged life and like has everything handed to them. But it's like, I think that's a sign of weakness, that like you only will live this life where things are handed to you on like a silver platter, and I'm better than you. The little pre-chorus that I wrote, and this one that's repeated that I'm not going to go over multiple times, but I'm going to scream into the void. So this is like, again, so now the raven has cawed, it's signaling battle, so I'm going to like open up and just start screaming. So pierce the souls, damn the fools. Basically it's saying like my scream is going to do that, it's going to pierce your soul, and then I'll damn you. It's very, again, just very like enraged, like it's very reminiscent of like supernatural like battles, like raging on. This doesn't have a lot of personal meaning, but again, just creating that like fun imagery, and then like in my mind it would like have that like very like punk pop emo like sound to it. So we'll get right into what would be the chorus of the song, and again, not gonna be repeating. But get in this car and drive away, don't you dare look back. So I think that's fun because like, again, the title is like Black Cadillac Nightmare Fuel, so you assume it's my car, but I'm telling them like, no, you're gonna get in that car and you're gonna drive away. So I feel like it's like a fun little like flip on like what the narrative would be in the song. Don't you dare look back, I will unleash this hell upon the earth. I'm angry and frustrated, so it's like, we're at war, and so like you've pushed me to this point where it's like I am going to bring this like wrath and rage down upon this earth and like destroy it because of how frustrated I am with you, whoever you is. Nothing will prepare you now, the gates are unlocked. So more hell imagery there. So like you've got me to this point where I'm going to burn everything down. Black rose petals burn. So in my mind that was just like a very strong, powerful imagery. I love black roses, anything along that nature. And so like I'd love the image of like seeing them like just burn and maybe fall into ashes. It's very, to me it's very like beautiful and like powerful. It's just a striking image. I think it's fun. Ashes to ashes, the rose petals. Rip out your heart and I'll tear you apart. So those lines, they're kind of in the same vein, obviously. But it's like, this is going to be like the outcome of this war is I'm going to kill you. Not metaphorically, obviously. So rip out your heart, I'll tear you apart. So like, I'm going to take out your heart, the things that you love, and then I will tear you apart once I've taken your heart. So we'll jump into verse 2 now. So this is, again, where I'd like talk about like backstabbing friends a little bit more. So like, you know, you have some friends and things happen, maybe in your younger years more than your older years, because I feel like in your older years, you kind of like either just cut people off or you're able to talk about it and move on. But like, this is very much like that dramatic, like melodramatic scene of like, oh, you betrayed me, prepare to die, like that kind of thing. The eternal nothing is here. So we go back again to that, like that black sky, like it's just nothing. And that's gonna go on forever and ever. Black and jagged. So it's like, again, that star imagery. And I think jagged is kind of like a fun imagery because like it's like clearly nothing, but like you can still see like the like jutted pieces of it still, and I think that's fun to think about. The line after jagged, like the knife you left in my back. So that again is like, this backdrop is basically how you've made me feel based on what you've done to me. You wished for this with words you could never speak. So again, it's like that lack of communication between people where it's like, no one said like, oh, this is gonna happen because this is like, we said nothing, there's clearly something going on between us, and because we've said nothing or because you've said nothing, that's created this like drama and conflict now. And forever and always, I'll see your face against my own. So again, we're staring into nothing, like it's become nothing, it's all black. And it's kind of like a mirror situation where it's like, again, in that first verse where they're facing off, it's like you see fire. I'm always gonna reflect what's happening onto the other person, and I think vice versa, because again, it's this conflict that kind of can be resolved, but like the only way that I, like in this character version I've created, can only be resolved through this like violence and anger. I'm always gonna see that person's face reflected back onto me because we're going through this like destruction and torment. So after that, we get to that pre-chorus again, and then the chorus, and then this little bridge section is very fun. So it's kind of like more explanation as to like why I'm so upset, vaguely, like it's not like anything specific, so it's like just more like vague, like this is why we're going down this path. And this bridge is a little inspired by Dear Evan Hansen, but we'll jump into that in a second. So I fall through the trees, the branches break my bones. So this is kind of like detailing the downfall between these two people. And in Dear Evan Hansen, there's obviously, he creates that story where he's like, he broke his arm by falling out of a tree. But in that story, like his friend comes to rescue him. Whereas in my story, I say, my screams make your ears bleed, but you ignore the signs. So in my mind, I fell through the trees because of this person, and instead of helping me, they just sat back, watching, like listening to me scream. But you ignore the signs and just watch. You just watch me fall. So again, this person is doing nothing to reprimand for what they've done to me. Collecting evidence of the demise you caused. So collecting evidence is kind of like, for me, it's like, I think a little bit of like, Look What You Made Me Do by Taylor Swift. Again, we're back to her, always come back to her. Karma and like getting receipts and those types of things. It's very like tongue-in-cheek almost. But I think it's very like, again, it's like, you get to this point where it's like, if you feel like you've been betrayed by someone, stabbed in the back, etc., or whatever, you get to a point where you feel like they're just doing it on purpose to you, and like they're just sitting back and like watching you fall and like watching you crumble and things like that. And then after that, we go back into that little pre-chorus, and then we end with that final chorus. So those are the lyrics to this piece. And again, there's not much to dissect. It was very vague. It was very character story based. That wasn't necessarily personal. I can draw some like personal parallels to my life, but like it's nothing specific. Like in Hideaway was about a very specific person. This is kind of like, again, that feeling, creating that supernatural imagery. And again, this was meant to be a song, and so in my mind, like, it makes sense when you add like music. If you add like a music video, like it starts to make sense. But like lyrically, some of it's very straightforward, some of it I can dissect a little bit better. But that was a fun little piece and a fun little break. We've definitely been talking about a lot of heavier things in the Hideaway, so this is just another fun like little break, and it's still something that I think has some good imagery and some powerful imagery that I can talk about with you guys. So that is Black Cadillac Nightmare Fuel. Be on the lookout. We obviously have a lot more coming soon. And moving forward, if I ever do song lyrics again, I'm going to not say it like the way I've written it. That way it's not, again, repetitive. Mom. And we'll just kind of just break it down, again, a different way. But the way I do spoken word will change with song lyrics moving forward. But definitely a lot more poetry and some other kind of exciting developments coming soon for the Hideaway. So please stay tuned. Leave a comment below of your favorite part. If you have any questions, or if I didn't explain something appropriately to you guys, I would love to hear that. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in the Hideaway. Some good writing tips, especially for songwriting. Again, when it just comes to lyrics, again, and I've talked about this probably a million times at this point, but it's very important for me, for when I'm telling these types of stories, whether it's through songs or poetry, is to create that strong imagery in someone's head, like black rose petals burn. Like you can just, I feel like you can just see that instantly, and it's just like, so it's beautiful. Maybe you get chills, who knows? Especially if we're going in like songwriting, the songwriting tips. Like really good like hooks are important, but that also involves music for me. So I feel like the pre-choruses are really what like kind of, it's gonna bring you into that chorus, which is, your chorus is like the main chunk of the song. So again, it's like what's going to happen in like this downfall. So I feel like that pre-chorus really sets you up for that kind of like powerful punch that is a chorus. I feel like it's important to like, that's your good segue. That's getting into your meat of your story. So always lead with a good pre-chorus.